ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
Sports betting isn't a gut call. It's a market with prices that move. WagerBird shows you what to bet, when to bet it, and how the line is changing live. Every pick is time-stamped. Every result is tracked. Start betting like an analyst with WagerBird.
Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, it's the Midday Market Report with Jeff Dawson.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. We are back. Re-entry Monday, the closing bell. Scotty Webb, Jeff Dawson, the odds couple on MLB Trade Deadline. Already almost 200 live here, ready to talk baseball. Keep piling in, guys. We'd love to see this, as it is a feeding frenzy out there. Skubal to the Dodgers. We had pegged that one for a while if he was moving. Congrats to Scotty. Freddie Peralta. Red Sox make hay today. Adley Rushman. The list is endless, and they're still coming. So we're going to get into it. We're going to go over the games, but we're going to talk trade deadline. I'll be writing out the trades as they're coming hot and heavy. What a day if you're a baseball fan. Right now, we got almost 250 live here right now on just our Twitter channel. Thank you guys so much. First and foremost, a shout out to our proud sponsors and partnerships. It's WagerWire. Head on over to Google Play. Download the app. It is free. Travis, Zach, Guy, myself, Amber, Holly, Carol, Bucks. The list is endless. Head on over to X at WagerWire. Join the community. While you're there, go to wagerwire.com/marketplace for all the tickets that are up for sale. And of course, wagerbird.com. Blaine Davis, CEO, will be live here on Wednesday at 10:05. Set the dial. Financial Outlook, New York Stock Exchange, funds, you name it, we got it here on his platform. Use the promo code WELCOME20 and sign up today. Any questions, comments you might have for Blaine, send an email to info@wagerbird.com. Tell him JD from ECSI sent you. Without further ado, let's bring him in. Mr. Scott Webb. What's up, champ?
Hey, man. It's 50 minutes, right? So well, I say 50 minutes, but reporting-wise, it's probably still over an hour because, I think there's going to be deals made today that kind of carry through that 6 o'clock. I mean, they got to get them in before 6. But I will say that reporting-wise on that, they probably will carry over a little bit. So yeah, I think it's been, it's been fun. I think for the most part, there's it's kind of been what's been expected. I don't think that that's going to be Andrew McGinnis. Jays buyers, sellers don't mind the Soriano pickup. Hey, what's really weird, Andrew, about Soriano? What's really weird is they make a trade and they get Soriano from the Angels, and as soon as they sign, well, they don't sign him, but as soon as they get him, teams start calling the Blue Jays wanting to make deals to get Soriano. So they trade to get him from the Angels, and now teams are calling the Blue Jays to get Soriano. It was the most craziest thing, and I was just totally expecting to see that the Blue Jays traded him away. So I thought, well, okay, whatever. So far that hasn't happened, but what a wild day that way for like a guy like Soriano. Here's another interesting thought that I had. all these guys that said, okay, the Colorado Rockies have all these players to sell. Well, shit. Excuse my language. Well, shoot. They didn't sell anybody. So Goodman's not going. The Vodnik's not going. They don't want these Colorado Rockies players. So it's an interesting thought about some of this stuff that's going on. I thought a couple of things. I thought the Cleveland Guardians did really well by getting Joe Adell. I thought that was great. But to pair that with what's his name from the Brewers, Perkins. They got Perkins from the Brewers to play the outfield. That's really good offensive help for them. And then obviously the Dodgers with Scooble was really good. And say what you want to, the Red Sox are putting their chips in the middle. They're saying the hell with everything else. We're gonna go get some guys. And that Adley Rutschman thing was, I think, two things. One, it's obviously to benefit them. I'm not sure Jake Long really helps them that much, but whatever. That's just part of the throw-in, part of the piece of the deal. But it cost them a lot. That was five guys that it took to get that and get that done. So, A, I think you want to hope he comes back healthy, and B, I think obviously you want him to play to like when he was a rookie. So. I think the Red Sox are going for it. So I think that's a great sign for a lot of things. Baseball's always better when, quote, the blue bloods of the sport are pretty good and they're in the mix, and that makes baseball more fun. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents.
And the uproar from 99.9%. First and foremost, I'm going to call him out. Mr. Michael Felger, 98.5. Okay, making millions and millions of dollars on the biggest platform, the number one sports show, not just in Boston, on the whole East Coast, up to WFAN. Couldn't even pronounce Adley Rutschman, doesn't even know who he is. And the fact of the matter is, what a colossal overpay is. And first of all, you guys don't know anything about the prospects. But what's not being said, Scotty, about the Red Sox is, I went through this 4 years ago with Bloom. The prospects were Tristan Casas, Marcelo Meyer, Tristan Campbell, and Romanetti. Campbell can't even get out of Worcester. They ruined him. Meyer can't get on the field. Tristan Casas hasn't played in 2 years, and we're waiting on Roman Anthony. Oh, and by the way, you can help me on this one. Marcelo Meyer now is going to the Giants for Eric Miller. Give me the 411 on Eric Miller.
Well, Eric Miller's sort of a closer type guy. He's really more of an 8th inning pitcher or a 7th kind of, he's a bridgey. That's what I would like to call him. He's a bridgey guy. So he's going to help get the ball to, in this case, the big closer in Boston there. So I think what's going to end up happening with the Giants, the Giants are going to take a shot and say, hey, look, we can use a kid like this. We traded Luis Ariz, so let's see what we got here. I think so. Let's backtrack for just a second. Let's make sure that everybody understands the importance of the day and what sort of everything really revolves around. So the trade deadline is at 6:00. So the normal trade, when you go and say, hey, here's player A and you got player B and we're going to swap them out, you can still do that after today. The problem with doing it after today is those players don't get to play in the playoffs. So they don't help you in, when you make the playoffs. So this is it. That's designed to make sure that, a good team doesn't cherry pick from a bad team towards the end of the season and just blah, 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 right? There's Kenny saying, hey, beat the Dodgers beat those Dodgers, evening boys. Yankees waiting on Stanton. Well, Stanton, you know what? I just saw a video. Stanton's taking batting practice today, and he's running in the outfield, so he's going to be back. Whatever. I mean, the Yankees are doing whatever the Yankees are doing. They need a catcher, and so far haven't got one. I do like the Luis Garcia deal. That's a big help for them. But I also think that Heliot Ramos, who was a deal that they're getting ready to make, I think that's a deal that's going to make their lineup even, that much better. And then if you can then put to it the Judges and the Stantons of coming back, and then you get your Rodons back and stuff like that, the Yankees will be fine. But all that being said, they're not there yet, and that team can't score damn nothing right now. So they're a shell of what they could be. Now, getting back to what I was going to say is look, the trade deadline is an important day because you can't just go make a deal after today. You can do something else, and I'll talk about that in a second. But what then happens after today becomes you have to sign your guys, and they have to be on the 40-man roster. If they're not on the 40-man roster by September 1st, they're not eligible to play in the playoffs either. The guys who are on the 40-man roster include the 26 guys who are on the active roster, the guys who are on the injured reserve or injured list, anybody that's on, like bereavement and personal leave, stuff like that. Those guys are on there. And they also protect some guys like minor leaguers and different things. And the 40-man roster is all designed around protecting these 40 players on your team, because anybody else is active to be drafted away from your team in what's called the Rule 5 draft. So the Rule 5 draft, players, their teams can go look, and you can see, you'll hear that term come up every once in a while. Well, that's a Rule 5 guy. Well, the Rule 5 means is that they got him in that draft because that player wasn't protected by that team. Some guys have 40 guys that they want to protect, and, they just can't protect everybody. So you pull one of their best players. Those 40 players are extremely important because those are the guys that will set the rosters for the playoffs. So when you sometimes hear and sometimes see like a team will play in a wild card, say, division or the wild card round, and they'll win. And then they'll move into the divisional round, but then they'll substitute roster players around. And you go, well, how is that possible? Well, it's possible because anybody that's on the 40-man roster is allowed to be on the active roster. So that's how that kind of works. And today's an important day for being able to go, hey, trade A for trade B. But you can also make, and it's not quite the way it used to be. There's some new rules involved. But you can make what's called an irrevocable waiver claim after today. And that's sort of where a guy will get placed on waivers, with the idea being that once he's on waivers, you can't go, you as the waiver putting team, you can't get him back. Somebody can claim him. And then when they claim him, that guy becomes eligible as long as he is in within September 1st. After September 1st, you can't do any of that either. So it's interesting to see how all this stuff is going to play out and what's happening. But I kind of backtracked a lot of this just to make sure everybody understands the rules around some of this stuff. And then B, the other part of this is I was certainly surprised at when I looked at the odds percentages, not odds from the gambling perspective, but odds and percentages from Fangraphs of who's going to make the playoffs and who isn't. You and I can sit here and look at the standings and go, well, this team's only 3 games back. This team's only 4 games back. This team's within a game, blah, 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 all that stuff. If I go and I look, and I'm just pulling up my article so that I have it right here, because it's in the American League, it's pretty easy. You've got Rays at 98%, Yankees 98%, Red Sox 85%, White Sox 56%, Astros 56%, Mariners 50%. That's 6 teams, and that's all the divisions all covered. The next team below that is going to be the Guardians at 44, the Rangers at 36, and then the Twins at 26. That's a pretty far cry from making the playoffs. So you would think that the teams that are trying to make the playoffs would be all over this stuff about trying to make deals. Well, think about it. the Guardians improved. The Twins really haven't done anything yet. I think they did one move, but I don't think they've done a whole lot. I can check in a second. And the Rangers are selling more than they're actually improving. So it's kind of weird that that's been going on. And in the National League, it's a very similar process. You have the Braves, the Phillies, the Brewers, the Cubs, the Dodgers, and the Diamondbacks. And then 20% off difference, you have the Padres, and then the Marlins, and then you have the Pirates. Well, the Padres are trying to make some deals to get some pitching. I think they got Robbie Ray so far. I see what else they do. The Pirates really haven't done much. They got Luke Weaver. That helps, but they're going to need more than that. And then the Marlins sort of have been selling, not necessarily they got rid of Liam Hicks. That's one of their best guys. So I was a little bit perplexed that some of these teams, maybe they recognize where they really are and what their playoff odds really look like, maybe. And then teams like the Phillies and then teams like the Cubs, they're now starting to really do a lot to position themselves to actually compete to win playoff series is what it looks like to me. The Cubs need pitching, so they're out there getting pitching. They got Gosman. Some of these guys you just don't even want. It's just retarded for some of the stuff that the Cubs do. But I think they're working on another one now. Detmers is what I'm hearing. So we'll see if Detmers actually shows up as a Cub. He might not. But as these things are developing and growing, I think that as we're kind of looking at it, it's fun to sit here and talk about the players changing, but I also think you need to put it in context to mean, okay, well, Boston, for example, how much better are they going to be? Well, they're going to be pretty damn good, right? Obviously, Rutschman has to get healthy and he has to play pretty well. But he's a big upgrade over the catchers that they have now. So I think that's a great move for them. And moving, and moving as far as all of that stuff goes, I think it's really, really good. And just looking at some of the stuff that they did, right? They got Eli White. They just got him, and Eli White's an outfielder from the Braves. And Eli White is a guy that's been able to hold that position down, or at least platoon with it, while Acuna was hurt. So that's not a bad thing. Looks like Carlos Navarez is now gone. He was part of the deal for Rutschman, it looks like. Jake Rogers is there now. Adley Rutschman is there. And
Eric Miller, don't forget.
Well, I don't have him up here yet. I got to hit the refresh. There he is, Eric Miller. So Eric Miller comes in, and that's going to help their bullpen's a big strength for them. So when you can strengthen a strength, that's a big plus, and that's a very good thing for them. And then think about the two teams in front of them. Like, what have the Yankees done so far? If you go look and see what the Yankees have done, they get Heliot Ramos. That's a big deal for the Yankees. Now he can play. He's got a high batting average, big home runs, good RBI guy. He's a middle of the lineup guy, so he's going to be able to go. And then Luis Garcia, that's a big play for them. But what do they really, really, really need? They need a damn catcher, and they haven't got one. And then they haven't done anything to fix their pitching. Anything to, I shouldn't say fix their pitching. Their pitching's been a strength to bolster the usage of their bullpen. They've used their bullpen like crazy. Those guys' arms are going to fall off. And so I do like these two moves that the Yankees have made. They need to make another one. They got 25 minutes to get a catcher, and I don't know what they're going to get unless they pull off some miracle to get the Twins catcher. If they can get the Twins catcher, his name is what's his name? I forget. His name is catcher. Right there. Ryan Jeffers. If they can get Ryan Jeffers, then they've made a good run. But I think the biggest issue then you go to Tampa Bay, right? Because Tampa Bay is the leader of the pack. And what was interesting is all we heard about was we're gonna be in the market for Scooble. We're gonna go big. Well, did they go big? I mean, what did they get? They got Liam. They got Liam Hicks. They got a guy named Michael Forrest, who I don't really know. Well, that's not true. They traded Michael Forrest. They got Tyler Wells, which I do know, and he's a relief guy. So that was helpful for them. I'm trying to look at anything else, and then they got Freddie Peralta. Okay, well, if Freddie Peralta is quote your Tyler Scooble, that's you guys that fell off your chair, because that's not like going big. If you wanted to go big, you need to bring in somebody that can help you with that team. I've said this all season long. That team only goes well when Diaz, Caminero, and Jonathan Aranda are hitting. When those three guys aren't hitting, they lose, even with the pitching they got. So I think the Red Sox improved probably more than any of the other two, even though the Yankees have improved quite a bit with those two offensive guys. So we'll see kind of what it all breaks out and kind of how it looks. Anyway, that's my thoughts on the AL East.
It's just comical. Again, everyone on social media that don't know now people are bitching. The Red Sox got rid of Marcelo Meyer. Are you kidding me? That guy, again, it's almost like when the Celtics finally traded Marcus Smart. What are you doing? It's just, you get attached to these guys. I get all that, okay? But what Breslow is basically doing is he's cleaning house of the prospects. I guess he's now traded 5 of the last 6 first rounders. Well, so what? They're on a historic run, Scotty. They just swept the Dodgers. Okay, they're like, I don't know, what are they now? 25-3 their last 28 games. And the fact is, you add a lefty guy in the bullpen to strengthen your bullpen. You added the number 1 pick 3 years ago with Adley Rutschman, switch hitting catcher, that when he came up was the next Johnny Bench. Yeah, he's been hurt and he sucked the last couple of years. Okay, he's getting ready next week to go on assignment. Okay, listen, as much as we poo-pooed Breslow and what the season started out, you got rid of Cora. Listen, what this team has done the last 35 games to put them where they are and to make these moves, you got Rutschman under contract next year. My assumption is when you gave up that package, you didn't bring him here as a 1.5 year rental. He will get extended. That's what my gut says. But overall, there's still 21 minutes. They're still looking for a shortstop. Maybe they get one. Maybe they get a starter. Evaldi's name's out there. They've been talking about Seager. They're not going to get C.J. Abrams after this. But listen, when the dust settles, you can't say that the Red Sox aren't going for it.
Oh no, there's no question. So some of this is kind of interesting. What the hell are the Phillies doing? The Phillies bring in Luis Ariz. Okay, he's a great fit for their offense. But because they bring in Kenny wants Neto. So when they bring in Luis Ariz, they had to put him at second base because he's not going to play anywhere else. That's where he's going to play. And he's been trained there very well by Ron Washington. He's a great defender at second base, great player at second base. Well, Bryson Stott plays second base for the Phillies. So now they go, well, we got to find a spot now where Bryson Stott can play. Well, let's put him at third base because he's a better third baseman maybe than Alex Bohm. All right, so we put him over at third base for Stott. Well, now we got to find a plot for Alex Bohm. Alex Bohm can go play first base. Well, that's where Bryce Harper plays. So then they go and say, well, Bryce Harper, can you go back to the outfield? And then Bryce Harper says, sure, I'll go back to the outfield. And I sit there and I go, you bring in one guy and have to move 4 or 5 positions to get him to fit in? What is that? What is all that about? That doesn't make any sense to me. But at the same time, I think their lineup is going to be a lot better with Ariz in it, because think about what the Phillies do, and I'm sure you've seen it all over Twitter already. Ariz has struck out 22 times, and I think Schwarber has struck out more than 25 times in the last 30 games. So it's like that, right? You need a guy to get on base for when Harper hits his home run and when Schwarber hits his home run and stuff like that. So maybe he becomes the two-hole hitter and they let Trey Turner still lead off. Neither one of those guys steals bases anymore. So I don't know exactly how that plays out. But one of those guys will be probably the leadoff hitter. The other guy, I don't know if he'll bat second. But yeah, Fangraphs actually has him batting fourth. I couldn't believe it. But, whatever. It is what it is. We'll see how it all plays out with that. But I thought that was interesting that they make a move and then they got to move 17 other guys to make it fit.
Twins just got Jeff Hoffman. So, Andrew, there goes another fire sale from you. Jeff Hoffman from Toronto to Minnesota. 18 minutes till, there'll be one or two that sneak through here. Let me see. I don't see nothing of yet. No.
Hey, how about that Spencer Arrighetti deal? Spencer Arrighetti's been one of the guys that have held down what Houston has done most of the season, and they trade him to Toronto, and they get Dalton Varsho back in that deal for Houston. But think about what Toronto has done, right? They got rid of Gausman, but they bring in Soriano, and now they bring in Arrighetti. Well, that's going to be less starts for Bieber, and that's going to be less starts for old man Scherzer. And, that's a good thing for that team because that team was struggling to put guys out on the mound.
Cleveland just got a starting pitcher from Washington, Foster Griffin.
Oh, that's pretty good. Who does it say who they gave up yet?
Nope.
Let me see what I got. I don't care about that. Cleveland, there they are. Not in here yet. Yeah, Cleveland got, there he is, Foster Griffin, acquired from the Nationals. It doesn't say who they gave up. That's a pretty good deal for them. I don't know that they're expected to sign him after, because he's going to be a free agent coming up. But, look, I think that means Cleveland's in, right? Cleveland's going to go for it. They needed another stronger pitcher than throwing Saccone out there, and stuff like that. So I like that move. So I think their starting pitching's pretty good. I think their bullpen's pretty good. And they added what's his name? Perkins, Blake Perkins, and now they add Joe Adele. I think that offense is going to be a little better. I was also sort of impressed with the late stuff that the Milwaukee Brewers were doing. The Brewers get Antonio Sensatella, and that's a guy that they can use. Their bullpen's been good. However, their bullpen's been just utilized like crazy. And then they get Dustin May, and that will help them too because, Brandon Sproat, who's pitching today, is not a very good pitcher. And if he can pitch in front of him, I do like Drohan, though, so I'd like to keep Drohan there. And I think that's a pretty good lineup for them for pitching-wise. I mean, when you think about it, it's not like getting Skubal or something. I don't know that it really matches up to what the Dodgers can throw at them. But, you've got Mizorowski, and then Harrison. Harrison comes off the DL in 5 days on the 5th. So Wednesday he's going to pitch. So you got Harrison, then you got Henderson, and now you got either Drohan or May or Drohan. You don't have to worry about Sproat no more. So I kind of like that for them. And then in the bullpen, they also added Jojo Romero, who's from the Cardinals. Now, he's not healthy right this second, but he's going to be healthy in the next couple of weeks. So you put him out there, that's going to help their bullpen out. So I think that keeps them kind of going. I'm trying to look here back to the Cubs because the Cubs went and got Clay Holmes as a pitcher. They needed a pitcher. So they got Clay Holmes, and then they got Braxton Garrett, which is a name I didn't expect to see on this list at all being traded. But Braxton Garrett is a former highly touted pitcher from the Marlins who got hurt. and then he's never really made it back. They actually let him try to pitch some this year, but he couldn't make it much. They got Zephyr John to pitch in the bullpen, but they also have Gossman. So they got 3 starting pitchers in Gossman, Holmes, and Braxton Garrett. Well, that's pretty helpful for the Cubs, and where they kind of needed to be. Gossman's a guy that's been there, done that. He's been in big games. He's been in a playoff picture before. I think that's the guy that they really needed to really try to support them. I don't know if he's going to be like, okay, well, when they make the playoffs, is he the number 1, or do you put Boyd out there as the number 1? You don't put Imanaga out there as the number 1, but you put one of those 2 guys, because either one of those two guys, and I really think Gossman more than the others, can bounce back and pitch a third, or pitch 3 games in a series if he has to. I don't know if Boyd can do that because the stretch on his arm or whatever. So the Cubs needed pitching. The Cubs went out and got some pitching. So I think that addresses some of their issues that they were having. I don't think it's enough to catch the Brewers. I would have certainly liked to have seen the Brewers get a bat or 2. But they got 13 minutes. And, a lot of stuff can still happen in 13 minutes. So, but I will say the one thing that I said this whole time, and I think you agreed with me, the superstars. I mean, obviously we knew Tarek Skubal was going to happen, but everybody else, there's no big superstars moving. Mike Trout's not going anywhere. All these guys that everybody was talking about being traded, none of that stuff happened. None of that stuff's going anywhere. Adley Rutschman's one of the biggest superstars that is moving at this point in time. I mean, I think, you can talk about Peralta and you can talk about some of these other pitchers, but no super big names are being moved at the trade deadline. And, I don't know what Colorado's doing. They think their players are worth the world. They probably could have got a whole bunch of good stuff for Goodman. But they're not going to happen because, these teams aren't going to pay the premium for stuff like that. Goodman's a risk, by the way. Yeah, he's hit 25 home runs or 30 home runs or whatever it is, but he strikes out a lot, which everybody does. But he doesn't have a great batting average, and he's having a breakout season. So you never know what his next season's going to be like. He's not like it's not like
Jr.
Huh? Yeah, I mean it's just
Jr.
Yeah, it's just who knows what that's going to bring. So I was a little bit surprised at some of this stuff. Like the Giants are having a fire sale. They're getting rid of their guys, which I thought they would, and I thought they should. But who's not moving? Chapman and Devers and Adames. I get it; those guys have big contracts. But at the same time that I get it, those are the guys you got to move so that frees up your ability to go do other stuff, right? I mean, they got rid of Robbie Ray, and I don't get the Braves. We can talk about the Braves in a second. But Robbie Ray, he goes to the Padres. Tyler Mahle, he goes to the Braves. Luis Ariz, he goes to the Phillies. And we didn't talk about Caleb Killian. Caleb Killian, he's not a throw-in. Caleb Killian's the Giants' closer. That's what he was. Of course, he didn't do a great job as closing these games out. He gave up a lot, but he's got good stuff. And maybe, obviously the Phillies don't need him to close. So maybe putting him in the 7th inning would be a great spot for him. And maybe that would work out a lot better. They got rid of Eric Miller. They got rid of Helio Ramos. Obviously they get some of these guys back. They're going to get Marcelo Meyer, who's going to, he's going to obviously play for them because they got rid of, what's his name there? They got rid of Luis Ariz. So I think that they could have done more, maybe not. I don't know. That's a lot of players that they got rid of, but it is what it is. Let's go look at the Braves for 1 second. The Braves. What do the Braves need? Well, the Braves need some pitchers, especially starting pitchers. They get Brent Suter. He's not a starting pitcher. Now, he's a relief pitcher. And what I've been really surprised about the Braves they haven't feared not having a starting pitcher. They put, Richie and some of these other guys that they have in those long relief roles, and they let those guys pitch 2 or 3 innings a night. And then, okay, well, you can't pitch the next day, but you can pitch in a couple of days. And that's how they've been getting by. Now they got Bruce Sutter. And then they go get Tyler Mahle. That's not fixing their there's rotation. That's the same thing as having the guys they already got. How much better is Tyler Mahle than Bryce Elder? Well, he's not. In fact, he's probably worse. So I was a little bit surprised. And then they bring in Lane Thomas. I think Lane Thomas is a surprisingly good pickup for them. Lane Thomas from Kansas City is an outfielder that can hit, and at times this season has put the Kansas City offense on his back, especially when, Pasquantino was hurt and Bobby Witt wasn't hitting. Lane Thomas was, and Lane Thomas carried that offense. So I'm a little surprised. I thought the Braves would go bigger. I thought the Braves would be in the market and get a pitcher and shock everybody and be like, yeah, here we are. We're the Braves. We're going to win this, and we're not going to let the Phillies catch us, that kind of thing. I'm not so sure the Phillies are. They're so far back now. It's like 9 games. Go ahead.
8 minutes to go. Diamondbacks, Lars Nootbaar from St. Louis.
Well, that's another team that I don't think has done hardly anything today. They really on my list here about we'll refresh it again. There we go, Arizona. Yeah, he's not even showing up on here. Yeah, they're there. They're not even showing me that yet. That they're not showing me anything that they've done all day today other than this deal. And for the life of me, Jeff, for the life of me, I don't understand the infatuation Major League Baseball players and fans, for that matter, have with Lars Nootbaar. Lars Nootbaar, other than his name, which is really pretty cool, I think is an overrated bad baseball player. I don't think he provides a lot of value anywhere. Like what's he good at? Is he supposed to be a good hitter? He's not really a good hitter. He's not really a home run hitter. He's not an RBI producer. I suppose maybe if he got on base enough, which he doesn't, he'd be a good stolen base guy. And is he a great defender? Well, I don't think he's the best defender in the world either. So I get it. The Arizona Diamondbacks, they're if I go there, their outfield was Corbin Carroll, which you're not going to replace him. Ryan Waldschmidt in center field, and he's a rookie, but he's been playing pretty well for them. And Max Kepler in left field. So maybe Lars Nootbaar is going to go in. He's going to be some sort of, platoon guy. Which at this point, why are you going down to the trade deadline at the last minute to get a platoon guy? I don't know. So I guess my point is that the Diamondbacks need pitchers. That they need pitchers, and they didn't get any. So maybe there's none to be had anymore. I don't know. But they didn't get any pitching. So that's not helpful to them. I get it. Brandon Pfaadt's been really good. Rodriguez's numbers, if you look at his wins and you look at his earned run average, is good. But if you look at the metrics underneath, he's no good. So he can get beat up pretty fast, and a good team should be able to do that. So and Mike Soroka's not coming back that I'm aware of anytime soon. So and he was their best pitcher that they had. Ryan Nelson, whatever. So Corbin Burns, that's who they need. Get Corbin Burns back off the disabled list and let him come back and be Cy Young type guy and help him get into the playoffs.
Shout out to everyone here. 507 live just on Twitter, Mr. Scotty. Thank you guys so much. If you haven't already, jump on over to YouTube. Subscribe to our channel at East Coast Sports Investors. We got over 12,000 subscribers there. Come on back. Go follow Scotty at Webby20 MLB. Of course, follow myself at EC Sports Invest. We got 4 minutes left until 6 o'clock. I keep looking over to my right, refreshing X to see if we see anything pop up. Nope. Nothing yet, Scotty. So we gotta.
You know who else we haven't talked about much, or I haven't said a whole lot about, is the Seattle Mariners. Remember how they used to be the team that would make all these deals and do all this stuff and cause craziness and all that. The Seattle Mariners got Taylor Ward. Okay, well I like that. The Seattle Mariners are the most frustrating team because on paper they have the best talent in their division. I mean, you've got Naylor at first base. You've got Raleigh behind the plate. You've got Arozarena. You've got Rodriguez.
Nathaniel Lowe just went to the Guardians.
Well, that's a move that they would make. I mean, Nathaniel Lowe he's going to be a platoon guy that can hit home runs. So that's not the worst thing in the world. He's from Cincinnati, right? That's where they got him from.
Yeah.
So he's a left-handed bat. But they don't need a left-handed bat. I mean, maybe they need one that can hit. Kyle Manzardo is their left-handed power hitter, and Chase DeLauter is their next guy. And DeLauter at least puts balls in play. Manzardo does a lot of striking out. But the one thing about Nathaniel Lowe, he's been on a lot of teams already. I forget probably how many. I can go look, but he's been on a lot. And he's been in playoff pictures and playoff hunts. And so he's been in big games. I don't know if that's going to help or hurt, but at the same time, he's a kind of clutch kind of hitter. You put him in a pinch hit spot, it might be a good spot for him. So maybe Cleveland thinks that's a good option for them. I really like what Cleveland has done. I think that's going to help. Cleveland's going to be helped, and that was one of my thoughts. Was let's relate what these teams are doing to the areas of need that they have, and then where are they in the standings to how that works. And to be honest, what have the White Sox done? If you go look at the White Sox and where the White Sox are, because the White Sox are in first place in that division, they bring in Husker Brazoban. That's great. They need it. That's a strength for them is their bullpen, but Brazoban's going to help. Then they bring in Joey Bart, for God's sakes. Who cares about Joey Bart? Now, I get it. I think Kyle Teal got hurt again, but Joey Bart, and then they bring in Brenton Doyle, an outfielder from the Rockies, and the Rockies weren't playing him anyway. So what are they going to do with him? I don't know. Maybe they had a guy maybe they had a guy that had scouted him before or managed with him before, has a relationship with that guy. So maybe they think they can get Brenton Doyle to be something. And that's really what they did today. And then yesterday, what they need pitching. So what do? They go eat the contract of Luis Castillo, for God's sakes. Luis Castillo is the sixth best pitcher, number 6 on Seattle, and you're going to bring him over and try to win a pennant with Luis Castillo? I was like dumbfounded a little bit. And then you decided all that money that they owe him, you're going to pay it, and then in return you're going to give up Sir Anthony Dominguez? I was like, oh my God, the White Sox are losing their mind. And then I saw a report today that said the White Sox weren't going to do a whole lot because they were afraid of making a mistake. Okay, I get it. You don't want to make a mistake. What kind of mistake can you make? You got guys that nobody's ever heard of. Now, they're good players, but nobody's heard of these guys. So I don't know what you're going to do, and you don't have the biggest prospect farm in the world. So use what you have to get a player that can help you. I don't know. I think here's how I would look at it. Luis Castillo, you know what he's going to do? He's going to allow Eric Fetty to not have an opener and be a long relief man. They're just going to let him be a long relief man now, and he won't ever start a game again. Okay, well, I don't know that you're going to get a whole lot of difference between Luis Castillo and Eric Fetty. I just don't. Eric Fetty, he's not been he's not been great. Let's just say that, but he's not been terrible. And Luis Castillo can't break the top 5 guys to make the rotation anymore. Hancock, right? If you would have said Hancock's going to beat out any of those starting pitchers for Seattle and be sort of a guy that's going to make their rotation the whole season long at the beginning and push these guys off, nobody would have believed you. And now Castillo can't even make the damn lineup. So I get it. I was, and then Seattle, everybody was talking about, well, Seattle's ready to trade Hancock and Kirby too. Okay, well, I don't know. Richard Populus says no Lindor takers. Mets need to get rid of him too. Well, here's the biggest issue with Lindor, and you might think it's contract related, but it's not. It's not. Nobody wants a cancer in their dugout. Nobody. And I hate to say it this way because he puts a smile on his face. He was the face of the Cleveland Guardians. He was a polite, nice kid. He comes from the islands. He's a great guy that way, but his influence is a me guy is crazy big. And it's so big that he and Soto don't even get along. And both of those are me guys. So when it comes down to what Lindor offers, at this point, he's a bad fielder and he doesn't hit anymore. So what are you going to get for him? And how much money do you got to eat? It's way too much. And then at the beginning of all this, a couple of weeks back, everybody was talking about Lindor being shopped around. And then the Mets came out and said, he's not tradable. Well, okay, that's probably because nobody else wants him, And then I keep thinking of Jeff all the time. I kept seeing all the Red Sox fans going, we want Lindor. And I just kept saying, be careful what you ask for. Be careful what you ask for, right? In my head, I kept thinking, I didn't respond to it, but my thought is just be careful because some of these guys, and I'm not saying that Lindor is a cancer like Devers was, but he's one of those guys that just takes your clubhouse and goes, hey, and again, I don't want to be political, but at the same time, he's a political stance. That's exactly what he is. And those guys that were run off from the Mets, the Pete Alonsos and the McNeils. Breaking news.
They beat the Buds, the San Diego Padres, get Casey Mize.
Hey, that's a big deal. That's a big deal because the Padres are trying to make it, and they need pitchers. And where's San Diego? There they are. San Diego. They got Robbie Ray, and now they get Casey Mize. And guess what? They don't have to throw German Marquez anymore, and Griffin Canning anymore, and and Walker Buehler. They can pick the one guy they want to throw out of all that group, or Randy Vasquez, Robbie Ray, and the other guy you just mentioned, Casey Mize, will help them way better than those other guys were helping them. So, hey, congratulations. That's a good move for the Padres. I don't care what they had to give up. It was still a good move.
Listen, we've gone 50 minutes live. We have 550 people live just on Twitter on the show. Guys, we can't do it without you. I know we always break down the games and stuff. I'm just going to bring you to the forefront what you have in pocket. You don't have to go through all 9. You can make this quick and painless. Want to give a shout out to Richard Poplis, of course, Mr. Kenny Magner, all our regular cast of characters, Rocket Sauce, Mr. Lucky, Dr.
Don't forget PB. He said hello to us. Hey, PB.
PB, of course.
Hey, if anybody wants to ask any question about anything, don't hesitate to ask. That's what everybody does. Just ask questions. We'll get them live. We'll talk to you.
Anything late here?
Well, you got about 10 more minutes before things really stop.
Yeah, no buzzer beaters, steals coming from the Red Sox per Alex Spear. Nothing from the Yankees. Yep. So I'm going to bring you to the forefront. Do your thing.
Yeah, I thought today's card was halfway decent. I mean, there's only 8 games. Kenny says the Brewers, Padres, and Cubs were subtle, but hopefully one of them steps up to beat the best LA Dodgers. Look, I don't know how else to say this, so I'll just say it the way I think it works. The Los Angeles Dodgers have the best rotation maybe ever. And I know, you can go back and look at all these teams in the history of the sport. The sport's evolved. The sport's way better than it was back in the day. I know, the Atlanta Braves rotation was a big deal with Smoltz and Glavine and, and all those guys and all that stuff. And back in the day when Koufax and Drysdale were together and, I know all of that. But today's pitching is not the same as it was. And I just got to tell you that the way that these pitchers are now for the Dodgers, I don't know that there's a better pitching ever created in a rotation, right? There's better pitchers than some of those guys. I mean, Mizorowski's having a super year and stuff like that, but sometimes one-offs where DeGrom has had certain years and other pitchers have had great seasons and stuff like that. But these guys that are going to pitch on a rotation basis for the Dodgers, and here's the catch: Blake Snell pitches next week, and then the following week after that, you're going to have Tyler Glasnow back. So you're going to see it. You're going to see it. They're going to get their sea legs up. They're going to be working, and then they're going to go right into the playoffs with that rotation. It's just the way they do, and it's how it works. And then their offense is what their offense is. It might not be hitting the best right now, but it's number one in offense for the season. So they're going to have the best offense, the best defense, and then if they can get their closer, Timmy Trumpets from the Mets, if they can get Edwin Diaz to do what Edwin Diaz does, I don't know how you're going to beat the Dodgers. I mean, every team's beatable, but in a series, come on. So we'll see. We'll see what it's like. I like it. I like the competitiveness. I want it to be competitive. I want teams to go out there and do the best they can. But we'll see what it looks like. It'll be fun. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time with this Washington-Philadelphia game. A couple things, right? So Washington is now missing, some of their offense in Garcia Jr. And when you look at their offense and you sit there and go, hey, offensively, I need to bet on them because they're a great scoring team. Well, currently they're only scoring 3.5 runs a game, which means they can't be bet on. You don't bet on teams that score that amount. And then secondly, when you look at the guys on the list that are actually hitting, and when I say the list, that means they have a 1.0 offensive WAR or better for the last 6 days. And they only got 2 guys, and you want that to be, Wood and Abram. Well, it's not either one. In this case, it's Chaparro, who you probably never heard of, but he's their first baseman nowadays. And Delane Lyle, who is on their list every once in a while. That's who's on the list. I can't bet them, and even against Nola. and Nola is not necessarily a poor pitcher, and I know everybody's going to beat me up for that, but he gives up home runs. All right, so if he doesn't give up home runs, he's going to beat them. And they're in Philadelphia, and Philadelphia's probably all jazzed up right now because they made some deals and they got some players. So I'm just going to stay off that one. The St. Louis game against the Yankees. Here's a note. Schlittler obviously throws really hard, and he throws basically a fastball, a 2-seam fastball, and a cut fastball. He throws like 3 or 4 different fastballs, and he throws a slider. So I was looking, and the St. Louis Cardinals are for the season. Now, this isn't just for a short window. This is for the season. Against the fastball, they are 42.7 runs worse than an average offense. They rank 30th. Well, that's not very good when you rank 30th and you're 42 runs worse than an average offense. And they're also 25th, 6.5 runs worse against the cut fastball. So I think Schlittler's going to have a great day. Now, having said all of those things about how, Schlittler's going to have a great day, and the other part of this is, if I look at my pictures, McGreevy, I call him a soft tosser because he's only going to throw 92 miles an hour or whatever it is. But he puts the ball in the right place most of the time, gets outs that way. He's got a fairly decent game score. It's 52 for the season, but it's 48 right now, and it's 48 in his last 7, 37 in his last 3. So he hasn't been good. And compile that with the idea that Schlittler's been pretty good. Schlittler is a 2.42, 2.43 xFIP in Sierra guy. That's 2.14 runs better than McGreevy. So you got a big pitching edge on the mound. And we just said, hey, look, I don't think St. Louis is going to hit the fastball. And when I looked at where the hitters and the batters are for these guys right now, St. Louis ranks 26th in offense. That's not very good. And 30th in isolated power. Well, you can't get worse than that. So isolated power, remember, that's your extra bases, stuff like that. So I don't think that's good. I think the Yankees are a better spot there. The problem that I run into is you got to bet the Yankees -2. Well, the Yankees offense is 28th and 29th in baseball and 23rd in isolated power. Their offense is being led by Jose Caballero at 2.7 offensive WAR. That's not going to cut it if you're the Yankees. And then Stephen Jones is at 2.5. Okay, well, that's not terrible, but where's anybody? Where's Ben Rice? Where's Chisholm? Where's Grisham? Where's I know I get it, Bellinger's not playing, but where are the guys that you can rely on? They're not on this list. They're on the negative list. They're pulling away. The Yankees have 8 guys negative offensive WAR. I'm not betting this game. I would like to bet this game because I think the Yankees are going to win. I think the Yankees are going to win because I don't think St. Louis is going to hit the pitcher. But I can't get there. This Pittsburgh game against Milwaukee, I liked Bubba Chandler at the beginning of the season. Bubba throws 100 miles an hour. He's actually gotten a little better in terms of control. His walks aren't quite as bad, but he's a big walk guy. His strikeout rate's way low for a guy that throws 100 miles an hour. And Milwaukee's hitting, and Pittsburgh's not. So I'm not going to back Sproat because Sproat's not a very good pitcher. So I'm just going to leave this one alone. If anybody has a question about a game, let me know. I do like this game. I bet this game. This is the Dodgers against the Cubs. And this is Robleski on the mound against Boyd. Boyd's been pretty good since his return from the disabled list. He's been pretty good. He's got a game score of 59. That's almost an ace. 60's an ace. Robleski for the season is a 60. For his last 7's a 57. So he's pretty consistent. What I liked about this game is Robleski has a 1.53 run advantage over the Cubs in the pitcher. He's got a 3.07 xFIP and a 2.89 Sierra versus 4.48 and a 4.47 for Boyd. So he's better on the mound, which means that theoretically that's a 1.5 run edge to start the game. And then when I kind of looked at it out there, I'm looking at Robleski going, he's a game score 60, but his last time out was a game score 30. Well, he's going to rebound from that. He's not going to throw a 30 again. He's going to throw a better number. So when he throws a better number, then to get to like his average, he's going to need to throw a really big score, a 70, something like that. So 70 plus 30 is 100. That makes a 50. So it's going to be a big game for him. So the Dodger pitcher is going to do well. And Boyd, the last time he threw, game score 75. You know how many 75s he's thrown for the season? 1. That's good. It's good they threw that. But he's not going to throw a 75 again. It's going to be lower than that. So I like the idea that this pitcher is going to be at his average or lower, and the other pitcher is going to be above his average, and he's an ace. So I like it. I like the idea that Robleski's the better spot tonight. And then to match that up, you look at the hitters and you go, well, the Cubs are hitting. Well, I thought they were. They're only scoring 3.7 runs a game. That's barely above bettable. 3.5 is the number you're looking to be at. They're 19th and they're 25th in isolated power. So that's not where I thought they were. I thought they were a little higher than that. And the Dodgers, they're scoring 4.3 runs a game, which isn't the best, but it's still way above the normal way you can bet. But they're fourth in offense. They're just not converting the runs, and they are 13th in isolated power. DULIJE. I'm not sure what that means, Richard. DULIJE. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. So the Dodgers are 115 weighted runs created plus. So, it says, do you like any dogs tonight? Let me answer that question by saying that I do, but I don't. I like the Giants as a dog. I think the Giants against the Rangers tonight is a good spot. I think Webb's the better pitcher tonight. But now that all this stuff has happened with the players transitioning and the hitters being gone, or some of the hitters being gone from the Giants, I don't know what you're going to get. That was the team that I liked. I paused betting on that game because of some of the concerns that I had around that. But that was the dog that I liked, was the Giants, because I think that you got the Texas Rangers just off a sweep against the Houston Astros, and then they were going into this trade deadline as a seller, and then they went to DeGrom and said, "Hey, we want to trade you," and DeGrom said, "No, I'm staying here." He invoked his no trade clause. So then they became, okay, well, we'll piecemeal certain things, whatever those certain things turn out to be. So they didn't really change a whole lot, and the Giants changed a bunch. So I would almost tell you that the one that I liked was the Giants. I thought that was a good spot for them. I don't think Pittsburgh's the right side. I'm trying to think of anything else that I would like. What's the line in that game? Where's that game? So my thought would be is that if I don't know if you'd call him a dog or not, but San Diego could be another spot where I like King. I don't like him. I think at some points in time he's been really, really good. At this moment in time, he's pretty decent. Fott's been great. Both of them have great RE24 scores, so they're going to fight. But I think the Padres are in a position where they're going to be all excited because of what their GM did. So this is a good spot that maybe you could go there. But I still think it's a coin flip game. So I'm not really sold on them as a big, and they're not a big dog anyway. I mean, last time I looked, Arizona was minus like 110. So I don't think that's, like when you say dogs, I kind of like the Giants, but I don't know if the Giants are going to be where you want them to be on offense tonight. I just, I don't know. Maybe it's worth a shot. I don't think that it's not. I think Webb's going to pitch pretty well. And I think, you got to beat Quantrill. Now Quantrill's, that veteran type that does stuff that makes you mad because he gets outs occasionally when you think he shouldn't. But the Giants are that team that I thought was going to be pretty good, but against him tonight, the numbers reflect pretty good for the Giants. Like Texas is scoring 2.5 runs a game. The Giants are only scoring 5.2. That's a big number. I mean, double. And then the Giants are kind of average on offense. And Texas is 63 weighted runs created plus. So they're 37% worse than an average team. They rank 25th in offense. They're striking out at 29% of the time. That's a lot. And I'm not saying that Webb's a strikeout guy, but he's good enough to strike guys out. And he's getting a lot of ground balls and not giving up a whole bunch of hits. So he's been pitching pretty well. So I like the idea that he's not necessarily an ace right now, but I think he's going to pitch pretty close to one tonight. But Texas is going to have their normal team, and if they hit and do well, then I think they'll win. But I think the Giants had a good shot. Anyway, so I like the Cubs, or I like the Dodgers tonight. And the other game that I did bet was Houston. I bet Houston, and it's not necessarily because of Javier. Javier is pitching tonight against Bieber. It's really more about the offense. Houston's offense, if I go there, Houston's offense, they're scoring 6.6 runs a game. They rank second on offense. They're second in isolated power. Weighted runs created plus is 174. So they're 74% better than an average team. They are 17 runs better than an average team. That's a lot. They're doing a lot on offense. And it's not that Toronto's not. They're average 15th in their -1 run. But that's a big difference, right? The offenses that are doing so well, and Houston's 9-1 on this run they're on, and they're scoring like crazy. They got Alvarez, who you want. He's the number one guy on their list. And then Yanier Diaz, Jose Pena, and Walker and Trammell. Well, Walker bats fourth. Alvarez bats second. Pena bats first. And Trammell, I think he bats a little lower. But they got pretty good coverage throughout that whole lineup. And Yanier Diaz, I think, is fifth or sixth now. So when you sit there and look at this, I really think that it's going to be a matter of how do they get to Bieber, or does the offense for Toronto get to Javier? Javier's off a big game, so I'm a little concerned about that. But neither one of these pitchers are any good, so we'll see what happens. I would much prefer to bet on A, the Houston offense, which is crazy right now. B, Houston's at home, and then C, Houston's got a pretty good bullpen. So I want to bet that versus Toronto, who's on the road, who just traded Varsho. Maybe he traded Varsho to the Astros, right? And the Astros might be using him against them tonight. Interesting. So we'll see what happens in that regard. The Tampa Bay game, that's on the road. Tampa Bay's -158. Seymour is he's a little better than average. But I didn't want to go there because, it's a -160. And the Rays are scoring 1.7 runs a game. Well, that's not very good. So I didn't want to bet on that. And then I talked about that San Diego-Arizona game already. Arizona's scoring 5.4 runs a game, San Diego 5. So offensively, they're both pretty good. But I think, and then pitching-wise, that's another spot where I was sitting there and going, well, King's a game score 58 in his last 7, which is pretty good. Well, Fott's a 60. So both of these pitchers are good. Both offenses are good. This is a coin flip game, and I just left it alone at that. So dog-wise, Giants is all I can think of.
Couple small moves late. I won't even bother with them. Obviously, the headliner Saturday, we all knew Scooble. Didn't talk about it that much going to the Dodgers. I guess Tigers. I was on with Bernie Prado at Fox Sports Radio at 5 a.m. Sunday morning while everyone else was sleeping. And he's, of course, in Vegas. And he's locked into the Detroit media there. It said that the Tigers offered him $250 million. I don't know what the years were, and he laughed. So, again, the extension, will he get it? I had said on Fox Sports Radio, if I'm the GM, I'd say, hey, listen, your 30 will be 31. I'll give you 7 for 350, 50 million per, take it or leave it. Again, as you said, Dodgers pitching staff come September 1st, never mind October 1st will be stupid. Can they be beat? Yeah, it's baseball. Teams get hot, pitchers suck. So we'll see there. They're the odds-on favorite, of course, not just to win the NL, but to win the World Series. And then we'll get to December 5th, of course, and the lockout there. Shout out to Andrew McGinnis. Shout out to PB. Shout out to Kenny Magner. Shout out to Richard Populus. Go Yukon Go. An amazing show today. We hit almost 600 live. We can't do it without you guys. Follow me on EC Sports Invest. I'll have the updated timelines for me and Scotty for the rest of the week in baseball. Go follow Scotty at Webby20 MLB. And of course, while you're there, click the link, join his Substack like a lot of the regulars have. Get his updated Webby odds and all the data there sent to your email and his Substack there. So for myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, the one, the only Mr. Scotty Webb at Webby20 MLB. We wish everyone a blessed day. Hope everyone enjoyed the trade deadline show. Thank you guys so much, and stay tuned.